Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. You should be eternally grateful that you did not have to sit through any of these Broadway shows that I'm about to talk about. Because these 3 shows that I saw are collectively the worst things I have ever seen on Broadway. Which is funny because a few months ago, me and my friend Harry decided to go see the Jeff Ross show on Broadway, as depicted by the signed poster right behind me. And that was the worst thing I had ever seen on Broadway. So, things aren't looking great for Broadway right now. Now, obviously, it's tragic whenever a Broadway show closes, because that's possibly 25 to 100 people losing their job. And that, in and of itself, is tragic. But when you have these Broadway shows that seem to be purposefully set up to fail, somebody has to say something. I don't want to be a theater critic. This is not what I want to do. But these 3 shows were so unbelievably bad that they are all closing or have closed prematurely. You guys have seen the producers. Not saying that's what happened here. Legally, I'm not saying that, but when a show loses $22.5 million fucking dollars, more money than I'm ever gonna see in my entire fucking life, and cost hundreds of people their jobs in such a volatile, awful capital market right now, especially either right before the Christmas season or right after the Christmas season. A lot of people are gonna be fucking pissed off. Audience members that have to pay for this garbage. So again, if you are in any of these shows and you're watching this video, please know that you are not the problem. You are not the problem. It's the producers who only want to make money. It's the theater owners who only want to make money. And the writers who just don't give a shit anymore. So yes, I saw 3 of the biggest flops that Broadway has ever seen, and I'm gonna talk about them just because I'm so freaking mad that I spent my hard-earned money to go see these fucking shows. I, on my minimum wage salary, cannot afford to see Broadway shows, so special thank you to all of my Patreon members who basically funded this entire video. The Broadway shows I'm gonna be talking about today are Queen of Versailles, Romy and Michele's High School Reunion, and Rob Lake Magic with special guest The Muppets. It's gonna be really hard to try to explain to you guys just how fucking terrible these shows were without being kinda mean, so I'm sorry. It was easier to be mean for the Jeff Ross show because that's Roastmaster Jeff Ross. I can roast Roastmaster Jeff Ross. Roasting the production of Romy and Michele's High School Reunion is not going to be as fun as that. But there's a very specific reason as to why I want to do that. I'm going to be talking about these shows in the reverse order that I saw them, starting with Rob Lake, then going to Romy and Michele, and Queen of Versailles. So if there's a specific show you want to know my opinions of, I'll have all of the timestamps linked in the description. So buckle up, because I'm about to talk about the 3 worst shows I have ever seen, maybe in my entire life anywhere, including Bad Cinderella, including Diana the Musical. But first, what's up? My name is Connor McDowell, and I'm currently campaigning to be the first fat Aladdin on Broadway. You know, a lot of the people that are in Aladdin aren't Middle Eastern, so I definitely have that leg up. And I don't know, why can't Aladdin be fat? Why does Aladdin always gotta be ripped and jacked? Sometimes poor people are fat, case in point. So subscribe if you guys think I should be the first fat Aladdin on Broadway. For this week's movie recommendation, I want to recommend a classic movie musical that I did not have the opportunity to watch before a few days ago. All That Jazz, directed by Bob Fosse, is not just one of the best movie musicals I've ever seen, it's also one of the best films I've ever seen in my entire life. Essentially being an autobiographical film for Bob Fosse, he relives key important parts of his life through this character who is suffering from a major drug addiction and is on the brink of dying. An incredibly fascinating plot, extremely well paced, some of the best dance numbers I've ever seen in a movie musical. So if you're in the mood to have your night both enlightened and completely ruined, then I highly recommend you watch All That Jazz. For some more movie reviews, you guys can follow me on Letterboxd, and if you still have it, even though it's a vile hellscape, you can follow me on Twitter. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about these in reverse order from what I watched them, because I very much believe that as I watched them, they did get slightly better and better. So I'm going to be talking about the best one first, and then we'll save the worst one for last. But I wanted to talk about one specific show first, mostly because I have beef with the main performer of this show, that being Rob Lake of Rob Lake Magic with special guest stars, the Muppets. I remembered hearing that the Muppets were going to be on Broadway like a few months before any announcement had been made, and everybody that I talked to about it was unbelievably excited. I mean, obviously, the Muppets are making their Broadway debut. This show is going to be incredible. How can you fuck up something as simple as Muppets on Broadway? I guess by putting them in a magic show done by some magician that nobody gives a flying fuck about.
Hi, I'm Rob Lake. You may know me from my many television appearances, my world-renowned touring, or even as the guy who made Adele magically disappear. Well, I'm here today to announce I'm bringing my death-defying and mind-blowing illusions to Broadway.
Hi-ho there, Rob!
Kermit the Frog, what are you doing here? Wait a minute, would you and the guys like to tag along and be part of my Broadway show and perform an illusion with me?
Well, are you kidding me, Rob? We'd love to!
That's amazing!
Rob Lake was one of the semi-finalists, I think he might have come in 4th place, on America's Got Talent many years ago. And since then, he has been working with creative teams on Broadway to help make special effects happen. I wonder how we got the fucking show in the first place. It just goes to show that all you really need is to know people. Because this is, by far, the worst magic show I have ever seen live. And it's because of Rob Lake. Look, I'm sorry, I'm about to rip into this guy, but I think I deserve to, considering I paid money to basically watch a scam show. That's right, Rob Lake magic with special guests the Muppets, to me at least, was a fucking scam. I paid, I'm not gonna say how much money, to go see the Muppets in their Broadway debut, and what I got was the worst magic show I've ever seen in my entire life. I would not have as much of a problem with this show had Rob Lake had an ounce of charisma in his body at all. He is the most awkward, self-assured, honestly asshole I've ever seen perform on Broadway. The exact opposite of having a good stage presence. Every time he finished one of his lame-ass magic tricks, he made the same fucking face over and over again. They had these cameras that would follow him around and would like do a live projection on the stage because he would go into the audience and do magic tricks. He did this one where he would levitate a piece of paper, but since he's on camera, you can see like his neck muscles contracting, so you can tell that he's doing something and he's not actually levitating the piece of paper. But every time he finished one of his tricks, he would hit us with one of these. Literally this face. Anytime Rob Lake finished a magic trick, he would hit us with this dumb fucking face.
So crazy.
That is crazy. Kermit, that's a great trick.
You know what? I have no idea how he does it.
You see this magic trick where my finger's pointing? This one right here? Yeah, he didn't fucking do that trick. It's on the poster, it's on the playbill, it's in the promotion for the show, but he didn't fucking do the trick. How are you gonna advertise a trick on your poster and then not do the trick in the show? What the fuck? I guess the simple answer is that he had this show before it came to Broadway, and he had to cut some things to make time for the Muppets. How dare they encroach on Rob Lake's important special stage time? All of Rob Lake's magic tricks were things that every single person has seen before. There was nothing new, there was nothing exciting, but it was also this weird mix of like big spectacular Vegas magic tricks where he'll like levitate someone while she's being squirted with water from behind and like water's running down her legs and it's all like 6 to 12-year-old boys in the audience. When Rob Lake started the show, he was talking about how he wanted to take us on a trip through the history of magic. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be sick. It'll be like, he'll start with sawing a lady in half, and then we'll go to like the next thing that happened, and then the next thing, and we'll follow the evolution. No, that's not what happened. He saw the lady in half, and then he would do just a regular parlor magic trick. And then the Muppets would come out for a split second, which I'll get to. And then he would do another Vegas spectacular thing. And then he would do a parlor trick. And then maybe he'd throw in a historical one that maybe sometimes would be a little bit racist because he's talking about ancient Egypt. And this is a white guy using a bunch of Egyptian hieroglyphics in his set to just do a fucking lame ass trick with sand. This was a dumb joke that I'm sure magicians have been doing for fucking centuries at this point. but I'm paying Broadway money. And I had to sit through a white dude with a bunch of hieroglyphics surrounding him talking about how the red sand is from that part of the desert, and the blue sand is from that part of the desert, and the yellow sand is from the part of the desert where the camels piss.
Yellow sand from that part of the desert where the camels... You're taking this way too seriously.
Isn't that funny? When you're charging anywhere from $90 to $200 per person for a magic show that's advertised as a Muppets magic show, even though it says with special guests the Muppets, so it's implied that they're not going to be in very much of the show, but you let the Muppets do most of the marketing for you and most of the ticket sales, and then the Muppets aren't in the show that much, kind of feels scummy, kind of feels like a scam to me. Because the thing is, even if Rob Lake was a fantastic magician, they're still advertising the Muppets. So the audience is full of children excited to see the Muppets. But almost every single time the Muppets came out on stage, Rob Lake would go, "No, no, no, it's not time for you yet. Get the fuck out. This is still my show." Which was so irritating. The amount of times that Gonzo came out from stage right, ready for his trick, and Rob Lake looked him dead in the eyes and was like, "It's not your fucking turn, Gonzo. Wait in line, you dumb big-nosed loser." He didn't say any of that. That would have been very mean to say to Gonzo, and I'm happy he didn't say that. But that was the essence of it. And Rob Lake was like, "No, I'm not ready to give the audience literally what they came here for." The magic show is about 90 minutes long. Take a guess as to how long the Muppets are in the show. 10 minutes. The Muppets are in the show for 10 fucking minutes of a 90-minute magic show. Now, they're not in it all at once. They are scattered throughout the show to make it seem like they're in more of the show than they are, but they aren't. At the beginning, Rob Lake talks about how he used to love the Muppets as a kid, and you can tell that that's a bold-faced fucking lie, because he just doesn't care. Like I said, since his stage presence is so awful, it was so easy to tell when he was lying about something. So when Rob Lake talks about how he loved the Muppets as a kid...
Well, Kermit, you and the Muppets, you inspired me to pursue a career in show business. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be just like you.
I didn't fucking believe him, and nobody in the audience believed him because he was a horrible actor on Broadway. So the Muppets are out for like maybe a minute, 2 minutes at the very beginning where they're sitting in a taxi talking about how they gotta go park the taxi and then they'll be back. And then Gonzo keeps coming in and out ready to get fired out of a cannon, and eventually Gonzo gets fired out of a cannon. And awesome. That's what I wanted more of. By the way, in the very beginning, Animal is in the taxi, and then Animal never comes back in the show ever again, and I was so mad. So anyway, Kermit is also in the show, and he does one magic trick. 2 magic tricks, technically, actually. But he does one magic trick where Rob Lake and Kermit invite a special guest onto the stage. And I have no idea who this special guest was because Rob Lake also had no idea who this fucking special guest was. I believe he said she was in Dreamgirls on the West End, and since he didn't know her name, he rushed past saying it so fast that not a single person in the audience understood what the fuck he was saying, including the person I came with. So then she goes up on the stage, and Kermit's there, and they're gonna do a card trick with giant cards. And I shit you not, the only thing that Kermit does the entire time is tell Rob Lake what to do with the cards, aka pick a card, put the card back in the deck, stuff like that. It was so infuriating that they had Kermit the Frog, and the only thing they used him for was to give Rob Lake instructions on how to do a simple magic trick. That's not what people are paying for. That's not why people paid to see Kermit the Frog. Are you fucking kidding me? And then Kermit comes back later to do a magic trick where he, like, teleports Miss Piggy from Saks Fifth Avenue into the theater. Fozzie's there to give some comedic relief, and honestly, that's about it. I'm pretty sure I just told you almost everything that the Muppets do in this damn show. We are sitting at the Broadhurst Theater on Broadway, and there's a show with the Muppets in it. And nobody thought that it would be a good idea to have Statler and Waldorf sitting in the box seats making jokes the entire time. Why the fuck didn't that happen? That, honestly, maybe would have made the show so much better. Even if it was Fonzie up there making jokes the entire time about Rob Lake, that would have made it better, because then at least the Muppets are in the show the whole fucking time. But Statler and Waldorf's whole thing is sitting in the box seat of a theater heckling the performers. So why the fuck did we not do that in the Broadway show? Like, that just makes the most sense. That would be the first thing that I would think of. That was the first thing I thought of when I found out that the Muppets were gonna be on Broadway. And no, they didn't. And it's not just the fact that the Muppets weren't in the show. It's not just the fact that Rob Lake was a horrible magician. It's the fact that this was a show that used the Muppets for marketing because they knew they would get families and kids to come see the show. And then for all of the audience participation parts, completely ignored the children in the audience. He would constantly throw things out in the audience for people to catch. And if you caught it, then you would become a volunteer. But anytime a kid caught something, he would say, if you caught that and you're a kid, be sure to hand it off to the adult next to you. I guess for liability reasons, they couldn't have the kids on stage doing like the magic volunteer stuff. So he just said, sorry kids, fuck you. You can't be a part of the kids' magic show because the tricks are too fucking complicated and also too fucking simple at the same time. I mentioned there was a camera that followed him around that was projecting a live feed onto the screen the entire time. You know how kids are. You've been to baseball games. You've seen Jumbotrons. If a kid is on camera, they're gonna freak out. They're gonna be doing some shit like this. They're gonna be doing some of these. Maybe some of these. But Rob Lake was so egotistical that the cameraman, anytime there was a child on the camera, would pan away in the most absurd ways possible. It would go up and over the children's head so that you wouldn't see the children. They would pan fast and zoom in on Rob Lake to crop all the children out. But I'm not joking. The children in the audience having fun was the most entertaining part of the fucking show. There was a kid who was begging in the audience to be picked because he really wanted to be a volunteer, and Rob Lake kept ignoring him because he had nothing for this child to do. It was pathetic. There was one instance where he had a kid come up on stage, and it was quite literally to advertise something that he was selling in the gift shop. I wish I was joking. He handed this kid one of the magic coloring books that they have, and he goes, and if any of you want them, you can buy them in the gift shop. I have never been to a Broadway show before in my entire life where on stage they advertise a piece of merchandise that you can purchase. It was honestly disgusting that the only time a child was used in a children's magic show featuring the Muppets was to sell merchandise to other children. What the fuck? Now, I just recorded like 30 minutes talking about the Rob Lake magic show, and I didn't even get to the beef that I have with Rob Lake. After I saw the show, me and my friend went outside and we decided we were gonna stage door to meet Rob Lake and have him sign my poster, maybe get a nice picture. And I'll be honest, yes, I was kind of doing it for the bit, because having a signed Rob Lake poster would have been very, very funny. But the problem is, Rob Lake did come out to the stage door and was signing everybody's playbills. Anybody who wanted a playbill signed, Rob Lake would sign it. Anybody that wanted a poster signed, Rob Lake's your guy. Except for the fact that he walked right past me and the person that I came with while we were waiting in line. And we thought because we were in the middle of a group of people that were talking to each other, he thought we were a part of that group and didn't want to bother us. So we went around and we got, towards the middle of the line, and he walked right past us again. And I was like, okay, what the fuck is going on? So me and my friend walked to the end of the line at the stage door. Rob Lake comes down to the end, glares at me and my friend, turns around and walks the other way. Now, I have no fucking clue what Rob Lake's problem is. Me and my friend were participating in the show. We were smiling. We were pretending to be having a good time. And I thought maybe he knew that me and my friend smoked a joint before the show started. But I was like, there's no way. I mean, we didn't smell like weed. So I get on the bus to go home, and I'm racking my brain trying to think of any possible reason that Rob Lake would ignore me and my friend when I don't think he would have any reason to. Now, I don't think anybody has to sign anything at the stage door. Nobody has to take a picture with you. I don't believe in that. I honestly don't even really believe in stage door culture to begin with. Sometimes I just do it for fun. But I was actually perplexed as to the reason that he would just ignore me and my friend until I got home and I realized that in a crowd full of 7 to 12-year-old boys there with their parents, me and my friend were the only people that did not give Rob Lake a standing ovation. The only reason that I can possibly think of is that because we were in the orchestra and he could see us, Rob Lake was pissed off that we did not give him a standing ovation. The pettiest bullshit I've ever heard in my entire life. First of all, I've had 2 knee surgeries. I am not standing up to applaud a fucking show if I don't think that show deserved it. And sorry, Rob Lake, your show was ass. And honestly, most people agree with me because your show isn't running anymore. It was a failure because you scammed families into thinking they were going to see the Muppets on Broadway, but your pretentious ass couldn't let the Muppets be in the show more than 10 minutes. And maybe it was budgetary reasons. It was probably budgetary reasons. But at some point, you have to realize that maybe your show closing is going to be worse financially than spending a little bit more money to have another 10 minutes of Muppets in the fucking show. Because Miss Piggy appearing on stage for 30 seconds and saying, "Oh wow, I guess the show has actual star power now," isn't enough for me to tell people to go see the Muppets Broadway debut. Because this isn't the Muppets Broadway debut, it's Rob Lake's Broadway debut featuring the Muppets, which I guess is what it's advertised as, but it's still absolutely fucking ridiculous. Now, I have Rob Lake Magic with special guest The Muppets as the best show that I saw out of these 3, simply by virtue of having the Muppets. If the Muppets weren't there, this next one might be above it, but honestly, I don't know. Technically, this show isn't a Broadway show, but it was definitely aiming for a Broadway run and was playing off-Broadway on 42nd Street. I'm talking about Romy and Michele, the musical.
I'm calling to see if you're coming to our class of 87 high school reunion.
Reunion? Watch out, Tucson! Here we go!
Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion is a 1997 comedy starring Lisa Kudrow and Mia Sorvino. And it's a very funny movie about these 2, let's say, airheaded, ambivalent girls who are going to their 10-year high school reunion and are worried that they haven't had as much success as their classmates, so they decide they're going to lie about what they do in order to impress their classmates. It's honestly a movie that I don't think would have made a bad musical, except for the fact that the script is almost completely identical to the movie, to the point where I was sitting there watching them tell the same fucking joke in the same fucking way that I saw it happen when I was a teenager in a movie. Except the movie was better, because the movie didn't have the worst music and lyrics to a musical I have ever seen. I'm just gonna play whatever clip that I can find right here, and hopefully you guys understand what I mean.
We're changing the world, changing the world. One outfit at a time. We're changing the world, we're changing the world. One outfit at a time. You're enough, trust whatever mood you're in. Now dress for you, dress for me. Go all out and live your fantasy, yeah!
It's not just that the show was bad, it's that the show was so bad that my audience was full of drunk white women who obviously loved Romy and Michelle's high school reunion, and nobody in my audience was laughing at anything. Nobody was having fun. Nobody was dancing around like drunk white women love to do at Broadway shows. It was a miserable audience experience, just as it was a miserable viewing experience. Look, if the book was just bad, if the lyrics were just bad, if the music were just bad, I may be able to forgive some aspects of the show. But when you add AI generated images throughout the entire fucking show, you kind of lose my sympathy. The entire show, there are projections that are behind fucking Laura Bell Bundy and Cara Lindsay, two women that are in their 40s playing women in their 20s, with set design that treats the audience like they're watching fucking Cocomelon. Anytime somebody mentions an item or like a specific event or a place, that item or place or fucking whatever it is will pop up on the screen behind the performers, as if we didn't just hear them say those words. Oh, one of the bullies is putting magnets on one of the girl's back braces. Gotta throw pictures of the carrot magnet up on the screen. It was so infuriating and so distracting. I ended up not paying attention to any of the actors anymore, who were honestly doing the best job that they could with the worst material I've ever seen. And since my eyes were stuck on the back screen, I could tell that a lot of the images were AI generated. And a lot of the times they weren't even trying to hide it. There's this nightmare sequence where one of them is dreaming about being at the high school reunion, and there are AI generated 80s portraits, you know, the Facebook mom ones, in the set design. And then halfway through the nightmare sequence, they turned the AI photos into AI videos and morph the faces into being like these weird, grotesque, uncanny valley monsters. And it's supposed to be funny, but it's fucking not, because it's AI. I don't want to see AI in my theatrical shows. Nobody does. A lot of people go to live theater to escape technology, to get in touch with the real fucking world. And when I'm sitting there watching a show that should be harmless, that really should not matter in the grand scheme of things, that should just be a dumb fun show that you could just get really drunk and have a fun time at, turns into something that I have a massive problem with. And yet again, Romy and Michele the musical is closing early. That may be because the word of mouth was fucking terrible. It may be because people knew that there were AI generated images and wanted to stay away from the show. It really pisses me off when we're sitting there watching live art be made while also taking away jobs from real artists. Hire a graphic designer. And if you can't hire a graphic designer, then don't throw shit up on the screen like I'm watching Cocomelon. It wasn't necessary, and it was AI generated. What the fuck are we doing? That's also not to mention that since most of the set was projections, there's one point where one of them walks up to the giant screen that's a curtain, and they pretend to open the curtain on the screen, and then the curtain opens. Like a digital curtain that she just goes up to the screen and swipes, and the curtain opens. It was disgusting. Just get a curtain. Get a piece of fabric. It's not that expensive. You probably spent more money putting this fucking curtain animation in there than it would have been to just put a real curtain up. There are clothing racks on the stage with clothing in them, and one of the actresses goes up to the fucking projected closet and starts flipping through the fake projected clothing when there's already real clothing on stage you could be looking through. It was fucking mind-bogglingly bad. The music wasn't even camp like a Diana the Musical to where I can enjoy it for being so bad. There was not a single memorable song in the show. And by memorable, I don't mean hummable. I don't give a fuck if the song is hummable. I give a fuck if I remember anything about the songs that took place in the show. And I do not, with the exception of the nightmare sequence where she's singing a song about how she invented Post-it notes.
Michele invented Post-its.
Weinberger? No way.
I overheard her say it.
Yeah, that'll be the day.
I swear I heard her say it.
I'm confused. That makes no sense. She's more of the designer, not the smart one. No offense.
Just because I'm cute doesn't mean that I'm not smart. When I invented Post-its, Romy didn't play a part.
Which could have been funny and silly, except for the fact that it never, ends and there's AI images during the song. I like Laura Bell Bundy as a performer. I like Cara Lindsay as a performer. These women, and I'm so sorry, cannot play 28 years old. And it becomes very evident when you have people in the ensemble that are the correct age to be playing these parts. We are never going to see new talent emerge if we do not foster and care for and cast people that are correct for the parts. I don't know if anybody went to go see Romy and Michele the musical for Laura Bell Bundy and Cara Lindsay. I don't know. Maybe they did. I didn't. I went to go see it because it was Romy and Michele the musical. And honestly, I unfortunately regretted my entire time there. And I did not want that to be the case. But when you use so much AI in your production, there's nothing I can feel for your show but utter disgust. There was so much AI used in this show that it honestly made it difficult for me to know whether the music and lyrics were also AI generated, because they were so bad, they might as well have been. Which brings me to the final show that I want to talk about. Have you or a loved one ever benefited from the 2008 housing crisis? No? Me either. But here's a musical that's about the people that did.
Lights, camera, yeah, action. Right on the center we go. Things are looking hopeless, but we know it's a fact.
The Queen of Versailles is a musical about the 2008 housing crisis that does not give a shit about any of the victims of the 2008 housing crisis. Based on the documentary of the same name, The Queen of Versailles is a musical about a woman who marries a billionaire and decides that she wants to build a full-scale replica of the Palace of Versailles in Texas. Why anybody thought that this musical that infantilizes billionaires to such a disgusting degree was the right choice to put on Broadway right now, when most people that enjoy Broadway shows cannot financially afford to go see a Broadway show? Whoever made that decision is probably one of the biggest idiots I've ever seen in my entire life. Which is funny because one of the main producers of the show is Jacqueline Siegel, the woman who's still building the Palace of Versailles in Texas. That's right. The subject of the show, the person they're trying to critique, is a main producer of the fucking musical. So while this musical could have had meaningful critique on capitalism, or the housing market crash, or mental health and suicide, because it's literally being produced by the main villain of the show. Imagine you're watching Les Mis, but it's been made by a bunch of cops. You're watching Cabaret, except it's being produced by Nazis. I mean, why the fuck do you think that Stephen Sondheim's anti-capitalist musical, Here We Are, will never make it to Broadway? Because it's critiquing the people that have the money to produce the show. And they're not gonna do that. So to think that this show was in any way going to critique Jacqueline Siegel was honestly big fucking egg on my face. It tries, it does do an earnest attempt at criticizing this horrible, terrible villain of a human being, but ends up being a vapid waste of time and money that isn't saying anything at all. It so desperately wants to be an Eat the Rich musical, where we're singing and dancing about how Jacqueline Siegel's husband is the timeshare king, and everyone's wearing cowboy hats, and they're shirtless, and they're fucking, it's the ballad of the timeshare king. It makes me not think you're fucking serious about satirizing anything. This isn't a fictional story. If it was, honestly, I think the show could potentially be pretty good, but it's not. It's based on a real person who actually harmed many people. Millions of Americans were hurt by the 2008 housing crisis, and here we are watching a musical that infantilizes somebody who basically helped cause the 2008 housing crisis by being the timeshare king. And then after losing everything, is bailed out by the government because he's friends with a bunch of fucking Republicans. This may be what actually happened, but it doesn't mean that it makes a good or necessary Broadway musical. The main anchor that's used in this show is Jackie Siegel's real-life daughter, who ended up killing herself via an overdose, which is a difficult thing to include in a musical. I don't know if there's any musical that handles suicide or drug abuse in the best possible way. Rent is not perfect. Dear Evan Hansen is kind of fucking disgusting when you really think about it, but I have never seen a musical care less about a person, a real life person that actually died, than this musical does. The musical wants you to believe that Victoria, Jackie Siegel's daughter, is the heart and soul of the show. But the show is quite literally a vanity project for her mother that's still alive, that it comes off that she never gave a fuck about her daughter in the first place. The way that they depict Victoria, the daughter in this show, is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my entire life. She has a song close to the end of Act 1 called Pretty Winds, where she is quite literally singing about how her mother is so beautiful and she is so ugly and she will never be as beautiful as her mother.
Oh, she's so pretty, and she's always good. And here's when I'll be pretty, never.
In a show that is produced by her mother, her actual real-life living mother. This is a girl that killed herself, and her mother produced a show where she is singing a song about how ugly she is and about how beautiful her mother is. If extremely suicidal 17-year-old me found out that my mother took my suicide and turned it into a Broadway musical and wrote a song about how she is so pretty and I'm so fucking ugly, I would have raised from the dead and killed myself again in front of her. I have never seen a more disrespectful, disgusting depiction of mental health in a musical before, ever. There's literally a line in the show where her sister cousin, because her mom adopts her cousin and then becomes her sister, there's literally a line in the show where her sister cousin comes on stage and goes, "I don't know if it was on purpose or not," and then runs away. Are you fucking kidding me? We're using this musical, this vanity project musical, for everybody involved. Jackie Siegel, Christian Chenoweth, F. Murray Abraham, and honestly, sadly, one of my idols, the director of the show, Michael Arden. It's just a full-on vanity project for everybody involved at the expense of this real-life dead girl. It is very obvious throughout the entire show that she is abusive and neglectful for her daughter and puts her own needs above her daughter's, that they're just using this dead daughter to make the audience cry. And that, to me, is one of the most disgusting things that a musical can do. That, and pretty much make fun of victims of the 2008 housing crisis. They give Victoria a song in Act 2 called The Book of Random, which is a really, really bad song about her diary. But the thing that pisses me the fuck off is that David and Jackie Siegel, in real life, actually published their daughter's diary as a book. Her daughter's personal thoughts before she died. They also turned that into a fucking musical. What the fuck? I have never wanted to get up and leave a Broadway musical before. I wanted to get up and leave multiple times throughout this musical. It is just straight up bad. And that's not even to mention any of the controversies that have come out during this production of Queen of Versailles. Christian Chenoweth coming out in support of Charlie Kirk and his family. I'm so upset. Didn't always agree, but appreciated some perspectives. What a heartbreak. His young family. I know where he is now. Heaven. But still. Hey, Kristen, what positions did you actually agree with Charlie Kirk on? What the fuck? The production hiring a costumer who has been accused of sexual harassment and assault, and then trying to hide that? Why the fuck would anybody think that right now, out of any time to put a show on Broadway, this would be the time? You cannot critique billionaires while being funded by those same billionaires. It does not work. At the end of the show, Jackie Siegel is alone on stage because everybody in her life is either dead or has left her. And what does Jackie Siegel do? She continues to build the Palace of Versailles, even though her daughter died because her mom wasn't fucking paying attention to her. At least that's how they basically depict it in the musical. Because her mother cared more about this fucking palace than she did about her own daughter. During the 2008 housing crisis part of the show, the family loses everything. Well, not everything. They still have a lot of assets. And they're discussing what they can sell so that their family can survive and live a normal life. And when asked if they want to sell anything from the Palace of Versailles, Jackie refuses, despite the fact that her family now has a lot less money. Not no money, but a lot less money than they did. She refuses to get rid of the fucking vanity project that is the Palace of Versailles. So they decide to sell a bunch of their expensive shit to poor people in order to make money to save the Palace of Versailles. Not to pull them out of poverty, not because they need to sell the stuff to pull them out of poverty, no, to save the fucking palace. Why should I care? This is a musical about the 2008 housing crisis where they're not trying to save their family, they're trying to save the palace. It's ridiculous. And not everybody in this show is terrible. Nina White, who plays Victoria, the daughter, is the best part of the show. We have somebody who is going to have a very successful career on Broadway, and unfortunately, she's stuck in this. A show that doesn't care about the people that are in it, only the person that it's about. And that is why I don't like The Queen of Versailles. That is why I have such a massive problem with this musical. As of yesterday, Sherry Renee Scott went on in place of Kristen Chenoweth, and I've heard from multiple people that Sherry Renee Scott plays the part in a way that almost makes the show watchable. She doesn't try to make her sympathetic, she just makes her a dumb fucking loser, which is what Jackie Siegel is. She's a dumb fucking loser with a lot of money. Enough money to where she, from the kindness of her heart, can give out McDonald's fries to the stupid little poor plebeians that went to go see her show on the first preview. They released a poster that was made for the first preview of her eating a Big Mac. The tote bag is a picture of her eating a Big Mac. Did McDonald's sponsor this fucking musical? While I was watching Queen of Versailles, the only thing that I could feel was disgust and contempt. And I hate that. That's not what I want to feel when I watch a Broadway musical. That's not what anybody should want to feel when watching a Broadway musical. I can understand why you might like this silly satirical take on a billionaire, but the show is so far away from what it actually needs to be to say something important, to prove that this is the story that needs to be told on Broadway right now, and it fails in every single aspect of the word. The production team on social media, since the reviews came out, which were mostly negative, were trying to say that this show was a cautionary tale. And my question is, a cautionary tale for who? People that marry billionaires? Don't marry a billionaire and don't build a replica of the Palace of Versailles? That's the message of the show? No. That's a dumb lesson that almost nobody in the audience is going to be able to relate to. And unfortunately, when you only have rich people going to see your show, that's not going to keep it open. Rich people are not enough to keep theater alive. So if we keep pandering to only rich people, like we have with the Queen of Versailles, and we keep scamming people like we did with Rob Lake, or we keep using AI-generated images instead of hiring graphic designers, then your shows are going to fail. Broadway is not in a good spot right now. The fact that one Broadway musical is going to play the Christmas season and close, one off-Broadway musical is going to close before the Christmas season is over and has no chance of transferring to Broadway now, and one magic show, I can't even call it a play, one fucking magic show that barely featured the Muppets, closed 4 days after it opened. If these are the shows that you have on Broadway, Broadway is going to fail. If you're not fostering new artists, people that have something to say, and you're not charging them a fucking $1 billion just to put a show up in your theater, then new art isn't going to exist. We're gonna have Beetlejuice on Broadway for the third time with fucking Trisha Paytas making more money than the guy playing fucking Beetlejuice. Nobody should waste their money on these shows, and after December, you're never gonna have to. Alright, well that's gonna be it for me today. If you like this video, don't forget to click like and subscribe if you think I should be the first fat Aladdin on Broadway. Did any of you see Queen of Versailles or Rob Lake Magic or Romy and Michele and actually like it? Let me know in the comments because I actually wanna know why. Today's Funny Boy of the Week goes to Joshua for sending me this meme. If you wanna be Funny Boy of the Week, all you have to do is follow me on Instagram and DM me a meme, a TikTok, or anything that you think is funny. And if I think it's funny, then you potentially could be Funny Boy of the Week. You can follow me on all of my other social media, including my Letterboxd and my Twitter. If you want to become a bigger part of this community, you can join my Discord. And since this channel doesn't have any sponsors, if you want to support this channel financially and help me make more videos just like this one, you can subscribe to my Patreon or join my channel memberships. I'm Connor McDowell, and I'm gonna go watch something actually good on Broadway so I can forget that I ever saw any of these shows. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.